The Alabama game was one to watch, and some people may question why Nick Saban is yelling when his teams are up 30-3 or 40-3, because this exactly reason what happened the other night in Tuscaloosa. We saw, and you saw the difference between Nick Saban, coach, and some of the players now are a lot more lively, celebrating a lot more. Just and that's fine. Go ahead and celebrate. But the game was never over. Um, it was never over, and I think that's what Alabama thought. You gave up 19 points in the fourth quarter. Though they came out guns blazing, they're running the ball well. No, running the ball. They're running the ball well. They also I'd just like to see a lot more Jalen Miller, but Jalen Milroe was a focus. Ryan Williams played a solid game. Um, I don't think we're gonna see much more out of Carson Beck being like Georgia would have fell more in the rankings if this would have ended the way it was supposed to end because if Alabama played four quarters. But that's what you want with Nick Saban. You want your team to play four quarters. You got a team buried. You have to really throw the dirt on them, throw the dirt on the grave, and make sure they never ever see the light of day. And that's not what happened. Do I think Georgia was better in the second half? I just think Alabama just didn't play in the second half. They thought the game was already won. Oh, there's no way they can catch up, right? Let's sustain a couple of drives. There's no way they can catch up. Georgia didn't quit. Um, I think this was Dylan Milroe's best game yet as a passer. I thought they gave him really good options for him to get for his receivers to get open. He hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 different receivers. He was distributing the ball very well to a point where the blitz was not effective for him. And they said, let's just rush three. Or let's put everyone in pass coverage, and he was finding spots. He was a threat with the run. He was decisive. This was Jalen Milroe's best game yet. You would like to see him put four quarters together, but he made no major mistakes. He ran the ball very very well. He was effective on all cylinders. You just like to see it throughout the whole game. Now here's the thing with Jalen Milroe. I've been hard on him about him being a passer, right? Being a passer. And some of the sports announcers said you have to play to Jalen Milroe's game and his strengths. I get that, and it worked. Just got to do it for four quarters. But I'm still open to that. I still think that he has to develop as a passer. I thought he was a better passer this game. Short route concepts were there, getting the ball out quicker, mitigating the blitz, hitting the blitz early. I always say the best way to beat the blitz is to get the ball out quick, right? A 2-3 yard pop, a 2-3 yard catch is good as a 2-3 yard run. You do that 4 times, you get a first down. So we saw that him coming out passing, nickel and diming him down the field. We saw that with Alabama. So it was a really good. They're pretty much utilizing their script. They had a really good script, utilizing the play sheet. Whatever script they had worked well when they came out guns blazing. You like to see it happen throughout the whole game. Georgia's a tough team. They're always a tough team. Carson Beck, I think, was flustered. I don't think that Georgia got better. I think Alabama just let up in the second half. But this goes into the part of I'll talk about that later. But Alabama played a solid game. Now it goes into I'll talk about that. It goes into the effect of Kalen DeBoer. Like Kalen DeBoer this was his coming out party. And it was almost too storybook for him to just announce this Georgia team. Like, man, Kellen DeBoer did this to Georgia and Nick Saban couldn't, right? Or like, hey, this is easy for him, right? But I say that because with DeBoer there, Alabama's an underdog. There's not that want for other coaches to beat Nick Saban in Alabama. There's not that want for them to destroy like Alabama because they have this prestige. Alabama has owned Georgia, but that pressure, that elite that just fell off Alabama allowed them to play more freely. So with Nick Saban not there, you're not defeating Nick Saban's legacy anymore. You're just beating Alabama, and the luster of going into that game for some of these teams is gone. From the coaches is gone. You're not beating Nick Saban. You're beating the guy that, hey, it's DeBoer. To the point where when two coaches play each other so much, they know it's a chess match. They know the other person's next move, and if you fight your brother over and over and over and over and over again, you're gonna figure out a way to beat him because you're learning. Same thing. You're coaching. You're learning. Now you got a new mind in there with his talent, right? What Nick Saban was good at was beating his fellow coaches, right? Playing four quarters, but you didn't see that without this Alabama team. So that lift that's off of the Alabama team, they're playing more freely, um, and that was a huge factor I think in the game. Um, Alabama played without that burden. They were the underdog. They took that burden without that burden of being, a player for Nick Saban. Um, and I thought it was huge. Now Ryan Williams, man, this Ryan Williams is CeeDee Lamb. It's you really see this from a 17-year-old. Just for him to have last game 6 for 177, one touchdown. Finding spots in the zone, being a big target, being creative. That's a weapon. I mean, in 4 games he has 16 receptions, 462, and 5 touchdowns. So that means every game he's going to at least give you a touchdown and give you 100 yards. You really see this. You like to see guys like this sustain it. Throughout their career, and throughout the season. But that's always a great upside. And you still have some tight ends who are legit. Emmanuel Henderson. We really haven't seen Alabama unleash Kendrick Law, who's an absolute tank. 5'11", 209, but shifty. He had that one play where he may have gotten dinged up. But Alabama has to play a complete game. This is the first big game of the season that we saw. You got a pretty decent schedule before you play Tennessee. You got Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mizzou, LSU. So your middle part of your schedule is going to be heavy. But this SEC conference is going to be more competitive than ever, and I'm excited to see how Alabama continues to play some of these bigger teams and bigger names. This was a big win for Alabama, big win for Kellen DeBoer, big win for Jalen Milroe. And I think the one thing we learned from this was, first, the pressure's off Alabama, without Nick Saban, from the coaching perspective and player perspective. Second, Nick Saban's culture of yelling at his team when they're up by 40-3 shows playing 4 quarters is important. The third thing is Jalen Milroe did take a step forward in his ability to pass the ball. And I'll add a fourth thing, allowing the offense to play to Jalen Milroe's strengths is a huge factor in it. He's got to stay healthy, right? So you want to keep him as healthy as possible and not have him run as much. That's why I think Jan Miller and Justice Hayes should be more incorporated in the offense. But you like what you see from Alabama, and you hope they can replicate it in their games to come.